Hey, what's up everybody? It is Kellen here from Start Your Systems, and welcome back to another official track gameplay in MX Simulator, where today we're going to be tackling the 2019 Pala National Track, Fox Raceway Track, whatever you want to call it, in-game here in Sim. And it is I'm back, return to making like regular videos on the channel. I apologize in advance that it's been so long. Well, I guess this is not in advance anymore, but it's been so long since I've been able to get kind of regular videos out on the channel. My wife and I just moved into our new house this past week, and it has been a wee bit hectic, just getting everything all sorted and set up, but all good now, and should be back on a semi-regular schedule, and wanted to get things kicked off by playing a little bit of Pala today, and previewing the upcoming round 2 of the series in Pro Motocross. Completely missed round 1 because of how busy I was and couldn't like highlight anything or talk about anything. So we're gonna try to get as much information into this video today as possible while we play Pala, have a little fun, and send you guys on your merry way for the weekend on this lovely Friday. So what you're looking at here is a version of the Cal Classic, which was a race that was ran at Pala about 2 months ago. There's like an amateur national similar to your Ponca Cities or Minios or whatever, you know, just like an amateur national on the West Coast that everybody goes to. And the RF guys couldn't like get the rendition of the track that is actually going to be ran in real life, I guess in time or something like that. I know a couple guys are sending them tidbits of information about how the track is going to look and things like that. So again, I know this isn't what the track is actually going to be like. Everybody that's coming here either after the race has already been ran or before and knows the track is going to be different, go ahead, start yelling and crying and whining and everything. The track is wrong in this video. I know, believe me, I know. Like we don't need to beat that horse to death. So moving on from that point, we are back at Pala for the first time since 2011. Little, I guess, 8-year hiatus at this point now, or 7-year hiatus. A couple years at Elsinore, and then the rest were at Glen Helen in between. Little feud between MX Sports and, I guess, the Feldkamp family over at Glen Helen. Kind of caused a bit of a rift in the series and the promoters kind of thing, and yeah, it just didn't work out, I guess. We don't really know the full story. Obviously, that's probably gonna be left up to the people that know, are in the know. But clearly, there's some displeasure between Glen Helen and MX Sports right now, and that has caused Glen Helen to fall off the schedule this year when they were originally slated to be on. Thus, Pala has come back, and if I'm perfectly honest, I'm not stoked about it that much. Pala is a great track for, you know, casual people to go ride and have a good time at, and you know, the pros sometimes use it for testing, and Axel Hodges and all of his bro-hos, you know, kind of use it for sending jumps from 8,000 feet off the racetrack. Yeah, I'm not like the biggest fan of Pala as a national, just because it's a pretty tame track for the most part. It's just, they're gonna build a lot of rollers and a lot of tables and big jumps, and it's gonna be fast and flat. And I don't like fast and flat outdoors. I like technical, hilly, off-camber, elevation change, etc., etc. And this has like none of that. They're going to use the back hill, which you only use once in the Cal Classic version. They're going to use that back hill basically 3 times, which is pretty much what they did last time they had the National there. Kind of like a little over the side jump that they had, then it turned around, went back up the hill, came back down, and it turned left and went up the far side of the hill, came back down and had a big step up double thing. It's pretty much going to be kind of like the same thing from what I can tell from the track map, but again, we won't know like officially till we're there on Saturday. And yeah, I mean, like I said, I think that the promoters and all that, they're going to do the best they can to make a good pro national-esque type racetrack, but I would just say that, you know, Elsinore, Pala, really any other SoCal track except Glen Helen isn't really the best for an outdoor national. So I'll just leave my opinions there. But what I've done here with this track is taken 10 minutes in, exactly 10 minutes into the second 450 moto of the Pro NA series, which was ran on Wednesday night. and then save the terrain, and now that's what I'm playing with a road on 3 still. So the track is getting a little bit worse as I play it, but I wanted to play it with the track like already kind of weathered in a little bit instead of just playing the track completely bone stock, because it was very, very flat and then got very, very rough as the motos went on. So I wanted to kind of have like a nice middle ground there. Seems like the track was about at its best at this point in the moto anyway when those guys are racing, so just seems like it worked out, and yeah, that's what I elected to do here. But let's talk about the real life action. Kind of, I want to sum up Hangtown as quickly as possible and kind of preview what's going on this weekend at Pala, because this is supposed to be a preview video, but I think it's going to turn into a review more than anything. Since I haven't talked about Hangtown at all, talked about the season at all, coming off Supercross with Cooper Webb winning the championship. Obviously, I think a lot of people kind of pointed to it maybe being a Webb Tomac type situation outdoors, where Webb's carrying a bunch of momentum from his title. Tomac, being a 2-time defending champion, probably wants to win outdoors. And then we have an opening round where neither of them win, and I don't know if it's like a surprise, but it's great to see Ken Roczen back on the top step of the podium. I was very, very excited to see that. Been a pretty long road back from his several arm injuries, thumb injury, and that second one that his arm went in Cooper Webb's swing arm back in 2018, and the severe injury to his left arm and that crashed at Anaheim 2 in 2017. It's just been a long haul back, and I guess maybe the most surprising thing about Ken Roczen going 1-2 and winning the overall was that the biggest problem he had in Supercross was fitness. He's having some, it sounds like some bacterial problem with the antibiotics he was on, causing problems with his, good and bad bacteria within his body. And he was on antibiotics because he had to heal from the Lyme burns that he had. And that was back at San Diego that they got the Lyme burns. I think he's been off antibiotics for a little bit now. After those wounds healed and he was no longer dealing with the potential of infection. So now that he's off that, it seems like he believes that the health issues are slowly coming back, but many reports have indicated that there's no positive answer on that was what was wrong and it will fix it, because he was, like I said, having a lot of issues with fatigue late in Supercross races. And Hangtown was, the first moto pretty fast. The track was decently rough, but not super tore up or anything crazy like that yet. And then the second one was a mutter, so fitness wise, I guess you could say he didn't actually get completely tested yet. Very, nice cool day in NorCal, and the track maybe not being as ferociously bad in the dry conditions that could elicit maybe him putting a little bit more effort out than is needed. And with no heat really being a problem, it seems like he may have escaped a potential fatigue problem that would have arisen if it was hot and really rough and gnarly out there on the track. So we'll have to see moving forward whether or not that is a persistent issue or if he is really solved. But regardless, dude, that first moto, there was some definitive flashes of 2016 Ken Roczen showing back up again. He went from 7th to 2nd in 4 corners at the start of the race, and it instantly reminded me of, if you go watch, I believe it was the second moto at Millville in 2016, Roczen gets a 10th place start and is in the lead before maybe with about a third of the lap left to go. I mean, he just basically walked around everybody, just weaving left and right, using outsides, insides, all that. And kind of the same thing happened here at Hangtown, where he got a 7th, 8th place start, was really quickly in second, stalked Cooper Webb for the first almost entire lap, and then passed him right before the finish line and took off. He was out of there. Led every lap. No real issues from then on out, and nobody had anything for him. I was thinking early in the race that Tomac looked like he was kind of going to do his little Tomac on the charge maneuver that he does, and I almost feel at this point, outdoor wise at least, Blake Baggett has the wrong name, because they always called him El Chupacabra because he would sneak up on people, and that was a Jason Wygantism. But it seems like Tomac has been like classic in the last couple of years at doing that, where if he doesn't get a good start, he just slowly tears people apart as the moto goes on, and he's really good at chasing, so El Chupacabra may have been a fitting name for Tomac. Anyway, he was on the charge, he's moving forward, he's making some passes, it looked like his times were like somewhat comparable, and then he got to Anderson, who was in third, and by the way, Jason rode great, and Tomac just kind of stalled out. He took a little bit longer than I expected to get around Anderson, and then when he got by Anderson, that seemed to be like the worst thing for him because he immediately got passed right back. Anderson almost kind of made it look easy to get back around him, and then Tomac really kind of tossed the anchor out, just completely lost the touch with Anderson, actually lost a position to Osborne, and would have finished 5th in the first moto had Osborne not had a late crash and given it back to Tomac. So that was like really peculiar coming off a season where Tomac had a lot of like the same things happen, where just when you think he's in the groove and flowing and maybe he has a good start and he's leading or whatever, it all breaks loose and he starts going backwards. And I was kind of hoping that that wasn't going to be the case outdoors, just because I think that the competition level outdoors as comparative to 17 and 18, when it was basically just Marvin and everybody else getting kind of hurt, I think it seems deeper this year. Roczen seems healthy and ready to go, obviously. Webb coming off his Supercross title is ready to go. Anderson coming back from an injury. Like, it just seems like, yes, a lot of the same characters are still mixed in here, but they all seem like they've kind of risen the game a little bit. So I was hoping Tomac of 2017-18 would still be here because it would be nice to see if those guys could dethrone him at his best. But in the first moto, that was not his best. I don't know what it was. I don't know what got into him, but he just suddenly fell off the pace and couldn't regroup before the end of the moto, ends up 4th. And at the end of the day, it cost him the overall, because if he could have, kept marching forward like he was right with Anderson. Anderson went and caught Webb and passed him late in the race. So if you imagine Tomac passes Anderson there, then catches Webb late in the race, probably gets second there, and then in the mud, Tomac won the second moto, so he would have went 2-1, won the overall, and we wouldn't even be kind of talking about what the heck happened in race 1, but we kind of do, because it could potentially have a little bit more to say about this championship than not, if this is going to be something that happens with Tomac every couple weeks or whatever, even if it just happens once or twice this year. We're still going to be like, any moment, Tomac of Hangtown first moto might show back up and we'll be like, what's going on out here? But the second moto, he looked great. He got a good start and was in the lead, and Kenny riding great, looking like 2016 Roczen, takes the lead, triples over him. Looks like, here we go. Roczen's out of here for the day. Like, he's just on another level today. Then he starts making some mistakes, has a big moment, almost comes to a complete stop. Tomac gets back by him. Roczen kind of settles in behind him, and they really ran within 5 or 6 seconds of each other for quite a bit. Tomac eventually started stretching it back out, and you could kind of tell Roczen was backing it down. He said he had a couple big moments late in the race as well, and it was really just kind of like survival a little bit, because the rain had came down. The track was pretty beat up, and I think that for most of those guys, they were just like, let's get out of here healthy and safe. You can't win the championship at the opener, but you can lose it, kind of thing. At least that's what it looked like to me. Again, I probably am wrong, but that's what it appeared to be to me. And I think Roczen was completely satisfied to go 1-2 and win the overall and take the red plate here into Pala this week, which is awesome. He had the red plate in Supercross, but he didn't even win a race. To win the opener like that, and it's almost kind of like he's back moment a little bit, although again, we're still kind of waiting to see fitness-wise that it's fully there. But I think, speed-wise and like kind of technical abilities on a motorcycle, the 2016 Ken Roczen might be coming back a little bit. It just seriously, that first race, if you put it side by side with Millville in 2016, I just feel like they look like the exact same thing. Like, half decent start, quick passes, into the lead before the first lap is over, see you later. Like, that is just almost kind of, it's weird to say, but it's almost like classic Ken Roczen, I guess. So, yeah, that was really cool to see. Marvin, I guess, crashed really bad in the second practice. I didn't see it, but I suppose it was on the camera. And he was pretty banged up. So he still ended up going 7-4 for 6th overall, because Webb ended up going 3-6 for 5th. So a couple guys right there that I think, we expect Webb and Marvin to both be in the hunt for the championship going forward, and didn't really have the days I think that they would have liked. But again, I think leaving there with half-decent points, especially after Marvin having such a big crash, could have, easily sidelined him, I suppose. And I look forward to both of those guys actually taking a step forward here this weekend in Pala, now that Webb has a little bit more time under his belt with outdoor testing and getting used to that KTM. I mean, if you remember, Webb finished 5th at the opener in Supercross. He just finished 5th at the opener outdoors. It's not like he was, way off the pace or anything crazy like that. He was still kind of right there, but just not as, in it as he was in Supercross. So I'm not worried. Not worried for Marvin. Little worried for Baggett, because I know he's never great at Hangtown, but he can't give up that many points to all of these guys that quickly. And then very impressed with Osborne to maybe have the ride of the day in the second moto, to go from P16 on lap 1 to P3 at the end of the moto, just charging forward the whole way through. Man, I really think Osborne's going to be a pretty big force to be reckoned with as the series continues on, because I feel once he gets a little bit more comfortable and his feet more wet, I know he's pretty old, and he keeps saying I don't really want to be classified as a rookie because, my time's coming up already. He's the same age as Marvin, I believe, and Marvin's about to be 30 next year. So actually Osborne might be 1 year younger, but he is still a rookie in the class, and so he still has to kind of feel out what it's like racing a 450 for 30+2 with those guys at that speed. He's never done it before. So in basically his 450 debut, to ride that well impressed me quite a bit, and I do believe that he's definitely got to be in consideration here to at least maybe get a couple wins this year, if not even kind of think about championship-wise, because consistency-wise, Osborne's always been pretty good about that. He's always been just kind of a solid guy that will give you top 5 performances every week and win a couple times here and there. So that'll be really cool to watch too. I think him, Anderson, Webb, Musquin, Tomac, Roczen, and probably Baggett, I think all those guys have legitimate shots at not only winning races but contending this year for the title. And I don't think that we had any clear answers after Hangtown that such and such is going to break away from the group. I mean, Roczen looked great, and Tomac obviously is really strong outdoors too. But Tomac still finished, 4th in that first race, and Anderson looked great, Webb looked great. Osborne probably would have been beating him. They're just all right there in the mix, and I think that's really an exciting prospect going into Pala. That being said about Pala in the 450 class this weekend, I think Ken Roczen goes 1-1 this weekend. After what I saw at Hangtown in dry conditions, he looks great, and I think that the only thing that will beat him is a start, which he doesn't really actually have bad starts that often outdoors. Almost whole shot the second moto, was leading after the first lap in the first moto. Tomac can probably run his pace, but Tomac doesn't usually get great starts outdoors. Tomac seems to have been saved by the great indoors, but his outdoor starts on the dirt aren't, I don't want to say they're bad, but when you have 8 or 9 factory guys always starting up front, and Tomac seems to be in that 7, 8, 9 grouping when the starts happen, you don't want to let someone like Roczen get a lead and get away early like he did in that first moto. So I really do feel like this may be a good sign for Roczen, especially because Pala is going to be pretty cool. It's going to be high of 68, partly cloudy throughout the day. No rain expected at the moment, but it is supposed to rain out here on Sunday. So, I guess we'll keep an eye on the radar if that storm moves in earlier or not. I don't think it will, but just as something to keep our eye on. But I got Kenny. At least I'm hopeful, because it'd be really cool if he can get a couple wins to start the season before Eli fully gets into his mojo, maybe. Then we really have kind of a nice championship dynamic shaping up, where Tomac is probably winning more races than Kenny, but Kenny's doing more consistency. But we'll see. So yeah, that's 450s. Now let's talk about 250s, which were I don't know. Like, I feel kind of expected a little bit. Like, I felt like the top 4 or 5 guys, both motos, it was like, that makes sense. Like, I didn't feel... Maybe Amart in the second moto, because he had such a bad first one, was kind of like, whoa, how'd that happen? But, I mean, Amart finished second in the series last year, finished second in the series 3 years ago, or I guess, like, whatever, 2 years ago now. So, like, that didn't surprise me either. Cianciarulo probably, I guess, is a little bit of a surprise because of the heartbreak from Supercross to go 2-1, win the overall in the first race. Back since that heartbreak, you know, that shows a lot of like heart and determination to just kind of put what was really just a terrible situation for him behind. And you know, just thinking back as recently as Joey Savacci losing the 17 title to Osborne, Savacci had a horrendous outdoor season in 2017. Like, it just, nothing worked. And I think a lot of it had to do with his confidence maybe being shot down a little bit from that heartbreaking loss of the championship at Vegas. So to see Cianciarulo so quickly rebound, I think was just kind of like almost refreshing, that it's like, okay, he's not going to get kind of sucked into that little zone where nothing works and it's all bad news and every moto is just, I'm feeling worse and worse and worse. No, he just immediately was like, we're going, guys. Like, I'm going to win this championship outdoors, and that's what's going to happen. He stalked Justin Cooper the entire moto in the first one. About halfway, it looked like he was going to make a pass, and didn't make it happen. But Cooper rode fantastic. I was actually pretty surprised by that too, because Cooper was a decent bit off the pace, I believe, in qualifying, which is like abnormal. I think he was like 7th or 8th. Like, normally he's like fastest qualifier all the time, but I don't remember seeing him at the top of the sheets in qualifying. And I was like, yeah, you know, and after Supercross ending as, you know, as bad as it kind of did, where I think he finished 12th at the finale and just had nothing for Chase Sexton in their little championship battle, I was a little bit concerned that again, kind of like Cianciarulo, would wear on him a little bit, but it didn't. Just came out firing right to the top with the whole shot in race 1 and took off. Well, not really took off, because Cianciarulo stayed with them, but they took off together, gapped the rest of the field, and Justin Cooper was able to win that first moto. But yeah, AC goes 2-1 to win. I think Cooper ended up 2nd overall, and then Nichols was 3rd overall, I believe, because he passed Ferrandis late in that moto. And Ferrandis lost another position. So yeah, it was like, I think second moto went AC, Amart, who was third? Nichols was 3rd, I think, and then Cooper, Ferrandis. I don't know. The race has been like last year for me already. It feels like it's been so long. Anyway, yeah, just, I don't know, pretty standard 250 class. I felt like the racing action was a little bit better in it, I felt, just because they were closer for longer. The 450 guys were like kind of separating from each other a little bit, while the 250 guys, I mean, the first moto, they all finished within like 8 seconds of each other. So that was really cool. But I think that is just kind of the group that we're expecting to see. Like, I don't think anybody else is really going to jump up there and surprise much this year. You know, obviously, like, look to see Lawrence, who didn't really look all that comfortable at Hangtown, to be honest. Like, I know he has a lot more in the tank, and then got, you know, crashed and basically ran over by his teammate, unfortunately, but still had a decent ride in both the first and second moto. I think he is going to actually shine pretty well through here at Paula, just because he's ridden here so much. I mean, all these guys have ridden at Paula. It's like freaking 10 feet away from most of these guys' houses, but like, Lawrence came over here last year and tested at Paula while he was still racing GPs. Like, that is how kind of familiar with this track he is compared to Hangtown. And I think one of the strong suits that Lawrence had in an advantage against the Americans of like Plessinger and stuff at Donations was the GP schedule allows for so much track time. Like, they got a couple qualifying sessions, a free practice, and a qualifying race all before they even dropped the gates on the motos on Sunday at Donations, and it really showed the GP guys were much more comfortable on the track, while the Americans seemed like they were a little bit lost and like still searching for setup. I think that in itself kind of is going to be beneficial for Lawrence, because he's got so much time on the track and probably already has a decent setup dialed for it, that I think he'll step his game up. I would expect Lawrence to actually be top 5 this weekend and mix it up with that group. But again, I think Nichols, Ferrandis, Cooper, Cianciarulo, maybe Amart, and Sexton are kind of like those guys that are just going to be there week in and week out in the 250 class. And can't really imagine spinning it any other way. So I think Lawrence gets a top 5 this weekend. I'm going to say Justin Cooper gets his first career overall victory this weekend. I think that Paul is a good track for him. It's fast, and he's kind of a send-it guy amongst those groupings. I think all those guys still have a little bit of the send-it in them. I think AC and Ferrandis, because they're a little bit older, and Nichols too, have a little bit more of the finesse. Clearly, Amart is just like wherever the bike goes, he's going kind of thing. But I don't know if you really classify that as send-it as so much as it's just like he's that good at letting the bike flow from corner to corner. And then Sexton is 100% a finesse rider. Like he'll, I think, have a better Supercross career than outdoors, in my opinion, but we'll see. So I got Justin Cooper winning this weekend. I got Ken Roczen and Justin Cooper as my winners this weekend. We'll have to see. Big shout out to like every single Aussie out there. I'm sure you guys are all really stoked to see how the Aussies did this past weekend. Dean Ferris, top 10 overall in the 450s. Toddy Waters did great. For some reason, like I saw his qualifying time and I knew that he wasn't on like factory support like Ferris was, so I didn't pick him in fantasy. I should have though at Hangtown, because I was like, man, that's gonna be a good like sneaky pick that like nobody's gonna know who Todd Water is. Like none of these American people know that he raced GPs last couple of years. He was on factory Honda last year. Yeah, he had some up and downs, but I mean, at one point he was finishing top 5 in GPs a couple of years ago. Like he is damn good and like pretty much on par, I would say, with Ferris when they're both really good and feeling it and comfortable. I don't know why I didn't pick him. I hope he's still got a good handicap here for Paula, and I'll probably pick him then. But he rode great. I think he went 13-10 or so. And Dean Ferris ended up 9th overall, I believe it was, and with like a something 12-8 or something, 11-8 maybe. So Ferris rode well, Todd Waters rode well, and shout out to Wilson Todd, who, again, most Americans are like, who? But he is the Australian MX2 champion, and he rode really, really well in the 250 class. I think he was 12th overall, went like 15-9 or something like that at Hangtown, and has picked up a fill-in ride for now the injured with a broken collarbone Mitchell Falk. Mitchell? Yeah, Mitchell Falk. On TLD KTM. I keep getting Mitchell and his brother Hunter mixed up. But Hunter is, I believe, is a mechanic now, and Mitchell's the one that rides. But I know that they're both like really good amateurs. So anyway, Wilson Todd filling in for Falk, and technically Cantrell too, who's out hurt. But good to see old Wilson Todd back on some factory equipment this weekend. I think that'll suit him well. I'll look for him to hover around top 10. I don't know if he'll go any better than the P12 overall that he did last week, but I think that's a good pickup for TLD, because I think he'll be, you know, kind of a good 3rd or 4th guy for them if McElrath and Jordan Smith and all those guys can kind of figure it out a little bit. Derek Drake looked fantastic in his debut. He was on my fantasy team. There's also Ty Masterpool, who rode really well for Star Racing Yamaha. I don't think he was on my team. I had Wilson Todd on my team at Hangtown. I wasn't going to be that stupid. So yeah, I don't know. Brief synopsis of Hangtown into Paula. Little in the break kind of action, talking about the races and such. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know I had a lot to talk about, but I haven't talked to you guys in so long, so I felt like I needed to get a lot of things out there. But really enjoy always doing these videos, chit-chatting with you guys, and doing some bench racing here in MX Simulator, trying to get my skills back in the game and have a little bit of fun doing so. So for Kellen here on Start Your Systems, I will see you guys on the next one. So long for now.